Hi everyone, thank you for coming today. I am Joanna Adams. I am one of the Open Research team based in the library. Today we're going to go over the open access agreements that we have with publishers. So I'll give you a brief overview of open access, what it is, what are the routes to open access. I'll explain the different journal models, tell you about the Creative Commons licenses, and then I'll tell you about the agreements, which ones we have, how they work, how they help you comply with funder and ref open access policies, and then just a brief overview of the systems that we have at the university here. So first of all, what is open access? Open access is the permanent, free, unrestricted access to digital literature. So it means that journal articles, books, and any other publications are open to anyone online to read and download without charge. Licensing terms also set out how the text can be reused. Open access is important. It benefits society as a whole. The more exposure you as a researcher gets for your work, the better. You will get higher citation rates. You will have more impact. It means that people who wouldn't otherwise be able to access your research will be able to use it. So practitioners will be able to apply your findings. Policymakers will be able to access your research. The public, the taxpayer gets value for money. If you have got external research grant funding, it means you're compliant with the rules. And researchers in developing countries who wouldn't be able to afford to pay for open access, to pay for research, will also be able to access your research. Now, we often speak about the colours of open access. First of all, we have gold and diamond open access. And both of these is when your final published article is immediately open access on the publisher's platform or website. Gold open access means that there is a charge to publish, usually an article processing charge. Today we're focusing on journal articles, but the same principles apply to books and chapters. And then there's diamond open access, which is when the final published version is published open access, but the publishing costs are covered by the publisher. So that is typically a university or a society press. Your other option is green open access. That is when you publish in a subscription journal. So that's only open to people who have got a membership to the journal who can pay. But the author can deposit a copy of the unformatted, peer-reviewed, accepted manuscript in a repository. Either of these routes are compliant with funder and ref open access requirements. The publisher agreements allow open access for the final published article in participating journals with the article processing charges covered by the agreement. Now, not all of the journals that you want to publish in are covered by the agreements. It is only a select number. So that is why you've got the green open access route or the diamond. Now, there are different models of journal, and it's important that you understand these so you know what is covered by each agreement. So you've got fully open access journals where all of the articles are open access. And typically the author will pay an article processing charge or an APC to publish open access. Article processing charges are usually about £2,500 to £3,000, but they can go up as high as £10,000 for the most expensive journals. You've got diamond open access. All of the articles are open, but there's no cost to publish. The publisher covers the costs. Then you've got your hybrid journal. Now that is a subscription journal. So usually the institution pays for access for their members. It's only open to people who pay the subscription, but you can pay to publish selected articles open access. But if you can't publish open access, if you can't afford to pay the APC or it's not covered by an agreement, you can deposit a copy of the accepted manuscript in the institutional repository and make that open access on publication. When an article is open access, it's usually open under a Creative Commons license. Creative Commons license is a license that is applied to the work by the author and sets out the terms and conditions of reuse. So first of all, you have CC-BY. The CC-BY license allows the user to share, reuse, build upon the work. Now, with all of the licenses, the creator must be acknowledged. So the original work will be acknowledged. If you want to share your work, but you don't want it to be shared for commercial purposes, you can apply the NC, non-commercial purposes only license. And if you want to share your work, but you don't want it to be changed or built upon, you use the no derivatives, ND license. If you are funded, your funder will usually mandate that you use the CC-BY license, and that is the license that we also recommend as it allows the most reuse of your work. When you publish with the agreements, you will either be only offered the CC-BY license or you may get a choice. So wherever possible, we say use the CC-BY license. Now, the reasons that we have got these publisher agreements are that traditionally, the library would pay a subscription to a journal for members to read. There would have been a small amount of fully open access journals. In 2012, the funders introduced open access policies and they provided some funds in the form of block grants to cover open access costs. This then gave rise to the hybrid journals where we pay the article processing charge to publish selected articles open access. We call this double dipping because we were already paying the subscription fee and then we were paying again to publish. So the article processing charges are often really quite expensive. It's not always clear what services we're paying for, and they're unsustainable. So a lot of funders will no longer pay article processing charges in hybrid journals. So we have these transformative or read and publish agreements that aim to move away from the traditional subscription journals to a fully open access model. So the library now pays a fee for the subscription access, but also a portion for open access publishing, which means that there's no article processing charge for authors. And the good thing about this is there's more open access and there's a lot less administration for us. We used to have to pay individual article processing charges for every article that was open access. Now it's all just done through the agreement. However, a review of the agreements this year has found that we are moving very slowly with the transformation to open access, and new models are now being investigated. But we will still have these agreements, I think, for quite a while. So the university at the moment has 20 agreements with different publishers, include all of the big publishers like Elsevier, Springer Nature, Wiley, and others. They are open to corresponding authors who are affiliated with the University of Aberdeen. They cover research articles, Output types like book reviews and letters or commentaries are not typically covered by the agreement. They don't really need to be open access. It is important to note that not all of the agreements are the same. Some of them only include the subscription or hybrid titles like Elsevier, Springer, whereas others include both the subscription and fully open access titles. So that would be Wiley, Oxford University Press, Taylor and Francis, and others. So for eligible journals, the article processing charge is covered by the agreement, so you get open access and you don't have to pay. You'll get a full list of all the agreements on our web pages. This is just a selection here. And from the web page, you'll get information on what each agreement covers. But if you can't find what you're looking for on the web pages or you're not sure, then just get in touch with us and ask. So the way the agreement works is that the publisher identifies the corresponding author by their affiliation as eligible for the agreement. We recommend that you use your university email address wherever possible because this helps. You will be offered open access under the agreement. This is usually at the production stage. So we recommend that you choose the CC BY Creative Commons license. If you're given a choice, some of them, that is the only license that you will be offered. Then the requests for open access are usually sent to the library for approval. And that's it, you get open access, but you don't have to pay. The costs are covered by the institution through the agreement. It is important that you make sure your journal is covered by an agreement, because if not, then you will have to pay the article processing charge. There are no central institutional funds for open access with the block grants. So we only have central funding if you are funded by UKRI, Wellcome, or the British Heart Foundation, and assuming funding is available at the time. If you have got any questions, then just email us at the Open Research email and we can check for you. We are aware that some of you are postgrad students and you've often left the university by the time you come to publish. You may still be eligible to have your article open access through the agreement, and you should get in touch with us for advice. Now, for the agreements which only cover the hybrid journals, for example, your Elsevier and Springer, you will have to pay the article processing charge for fully open access titles. There is a 15% discount, but the APCs are still quite high. So if you do want to publish in a fully open access journal, please do make sure that you have got funds to pay before you submit. Now, some of you will have research funding from an external organisation, the UKRI, Wellcome, Horizon, in which case you will have open access requirements from your funder that you have to meet. Other people will need to make their research open to be eligible for submission to the REF, the Research Excellence Framework. This doesn't apply to postgrad students. You won't be submitting yourself, but your co-authors probably will be. So it's a good idea to make sure that you're familiar with the open access requirements. Again, you will find them on our web pages. And we have another ExplORe session on that coming up in December. But typically, immediate open access under an open license, whether that is through the gold or the green route, will comply with your funder policy. And the good thing about the publisher agreements is that they aid compliance. So anything that's published open access through the publisher agreements, CC BY license, is eligible for REF and meets funder requirements. There are a number of tools available online that can help you check if a journal meets funder open access requirements, or what the funder open access requirements are. And you will be able to link to all of these from the slides. They're also available on our website. Here at the university, we have got a couple of systems that support our open research. We have got ExplORe. It is the Institutional Research Information System. All of the university's research information is captured here in ExplORe. It links with other databases as well. So like research grants, HR and student records for person information. All research staff and research postgraduates have got a ExplORe profile. You just use your university ID and password to log in, and you can update your information here. It's not just your research outputs that go in here. You can also include information on activities, awards, prizes, things like that, and data sets as well. When you upload full text to ExplORe, so like your accepted manuscripts, that will be made open access through the Institutional Repository, which is ORA. And we also have got the University of Aberdeen Research Portal, which is the public profile for the university. And individual researcher profiles are displayed on here, and also individual research outputs and all of the other information that we make public from ExplORe. Like a big CV for the university showcasing our research. So it's really important that you keep ExplORe up to date. So enter all of your articles into ExplORe, whether they're published green open access or gold open access. Whenever you have a paper accepted for publication, email paper accepted, and we will help you get that information into ExplORe. You send a confirmation of acceptance from the publisher and a copy of the unformatted, peer-reviewed accepted manuscripts. We will get that into ExplORe for you. Can also add information yourself. So the awards, activities, prizes, we recommend that you enter that yourself. If you have made your data sets open access through another repository, you usually use a specific data repository. You can also add that information into ExplORe, and it will link out from the research portal to that data set. And it just means that you keep all of your research information into one place. If you have got any questions about that, or you need any help updating your profile, just get in touch with us. So just to sum up, it's really important that you make your research open access, not just for complying with funder or DEF open access requirements, but for all of the other benefits that it brings. We recommend that you use the open access agreements. You'll get open access with no additional cost to yourself, and they will help you meet any funder and DEF open access requirements that apply. And don't forget to keep your ExplORe record up to date, and whenever you have an accepted paper, get that into ExplORe as well. And if you have got any questions or you need any help, just contact the Open Research team. You will also find us on social media. We are on X and we are on Blue Sky. Okay, thank you for listening.